Hi, Carolyn Stevens. Periodically, I encounter a leader who thinks that constantly being the expert, that is, relentlessly being the knowledgeable authority, is all-important leadership behaviour. Some leaders use an autocratic approach as their first option, regardless of the situation, and this really is an old-fashioned view. Of course, in the primitive Middle Ages, autocratic leadership was the norm. In those more hierarchical times, people expected the king or the emperor, for example, to dominate. Then it was the norm for people to follow orders without questioning them, without anticipating that they would contribute their view to a discussion, without being involved in the decision-making. People back then expected to have someone else in control and to follow their leader's commands. But times have changed. These days, your team members are more educated, more knowledgeable, and therefore more forthright. They expect to have a dialogue in which they put their views on the table. They expect to have their opinions valued. They expect to be involved in decisions, and they expect to be treated respectfully, right? But that's not to say that an autocratic command and control approach in which you call the shots isn't sometimes your best option. When is being autocratic a good thing? Firstly, when extreme urgency is needed, say if the building's on fire. Or, secondly, if you hold all the knowledge cards. Say you're the person who knows about an up-the-line decision that will impact on your team's work. But if the situation isn't this acute, please don't go down that old-fashioned command and control path. So what's so bad about limiting your team members' input or making most of the decisions on your own? Seriously, there's a mountain of consequences, costs that you can't afford if you plan to make the most of productivity and to make the most of your career as a leader. Your team members' discretionary effort will be minimal at best because their commitment to you and to the organisation won't be there. They won't develop and be up for more responsibility. They won't feel valued or respected. Resentment sets in when people don't feel like they own their KPIs. Their initiative and creativity will be seriously suppressed. Staff turnover in your team will be higher than it needs to be. Their sense of well-being and their self-esteem will be negatively impacted. You'll notice you're too stressed and that your sense of well-being is also negatively impacted because you know you haven't been at your best with them. I do understand that you want results and that you want them fast, and behaving autocratically when it's not essential that you behave autocratically truly is short-term thinking. A sober, longer-term view is to stop driving performance at such a cost. Stop creating team members who are overly dependent on your views and on your decisions. If you're a leader who's in danger of being inappropriately autocratic, I propose that you insert a fairly undemanding step into your communications with your team members. Ask them for their view before you give yours. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have a Clayton's conversation. It's crucial that you genuinely care about their view. If you're inauthentically going through the motions when you ask your team members what they think, that's not going to cut it. You need to consider that their view potentially will shape yours. If your thinking about the topic is quite fixed, I suggest that you say something like, although I have a clear view that we need to do X, Y, Z, I do want to hear your perspective on the situation. What is your perspective on what we need to do? In other words, I'm proposing that both authenticity and participation are both vital ingredients in almost every leadership conversation. Are there things that you could do to avoid the costs that a too autocratic leader experiences? How do you think asking your team members for their view before you give yours will work for you? I'm interested in your view. Keep your comments and feedback and requests to explore what a leader coaching program would look like for you rolling in. All the best until next time.